Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 140. Michigan joins CoFL North. Welcome back to another episode of Player 54 Podcast. Today, we welcome Michigan Arrows managing partner Mike Jones to discuss his team, the decision to join the Continental Football League, and more. Welcome, Mike. I appreciate taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the Michigan Arrows, the decision to join the Continental Football League, and possibly more.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a dream right now, and honestly, it's still kind of surreal right now. But I'm taking it a day and a step at a time, and we're gonna get it done.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's like to be in your shoes with this launch. But before we address the recent announcement, I believe it would be beneficial to those tuning in to provide a bit of a kind of a brief background about yourself, your introduction to the game of football, and what led you to the launch of the Michigan Arrows.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit older, a little bit older. I'm 42 years old. My introduction to the game of football started in 1996. That's my first time playing football. And I think that I didn't really take it as serious as I should have. The quarterback actually of the team that he was a senior and I was a freshman. His name was Kurt Kittner, quarterback of Illinois, and he actually went on to play for the Atlanta Falcons. And he actually is the only winning quarterback that I can remember to play for Illinois against Michigan. And Michigan is my team. That I'm not going, hold you up. I'm a Wolverine, and that's just the way it is. But I can't remember any other Fighting Illini quarterback to have a winning record against Michigan. So that happened. And then I kind of moved away, and I actually was born in Port Huron. I actually moved back to Port Huron, where I actually played for the Port Huron Northern Huskies. And actually, I at the time, my senior year, I actually had offers from the University of Toledo. Big ups to Tom Osmus, who was the coach at that time, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I didn't take either of those offers. I decided to go in a different direction with my life, which rounded me back to football actually in my later 20s. Actually, my mid to later 20s, I actually played semi-pro for the Jackson Bombers and for the Saline Demons and for the Belleville Giants. I was 4 seasons of football. I loved. I started at defensive end for all 3 of those teams. And man, and my love for football, it's just so deep and it's so passionate. And I think that other people could see that. So I linked up with a podcasting group who now actually one of those guys is actually his name is Easy, Speak Easy. He's actually part of the Woodward Heavyweights. He does a show. It's 5 to 7 on the Woodward Sports Network. We were a big podcasting group, and the spinoff of that actually became the Boss Up Ball Out podcast through Kurt Steele and LL Cool Torrance. We host that currently as I speak, and it was good, man. It still is going good. We recently monetized the channel and things like that, so everything's trending in the right direction. And in that time, this is how I know that the Lord works in wonderful and mysterious ways. Is I became a defensive line coach for the Jackson Northwest varsity football team. And I kind of help out with the O line as well. I'm kind of second to the O line, but I deal mostly. I'm the first in command when it comes to the varsity football team, and it just everything has built up in such a odd and weird way, and I'm just thankful to be here. I may be a little bit more inexperienced than some of these guys, but not really, because I've been around football for 30 years. I've been around football for 30 years. My first game I ever watched, I was 8 years old. Okay. Actually, I was 7. I watched the entire football game. And it was the 1991 playoff game between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers. It was like the greatest comeback I had ever seen in my life. And that made me fall in love with football. I was so amazed. I think it was like 32-3 at halftime or something crazy like that. And I watched that comeback, and that sparked my love for football. And that's kind of my story.
All with a backup quarterback too, Frank Wright.
Yep, yes sir. And actually, a little fun fact: my great uncle was the middle linebacker on the only state championship team in Port Huron history. And my grandmother actually played field hockey for the first woman field hockey team in Michigan. So so it's kind of my nature, my background, because my uncle, he was a state champion wrestler, a collegiate wrestler. My other uncle was a Golden Glove boxer, 2-time champion. So it's kind of just in my nature, the physical athleticness, the kind of, so I just never stopped.
Well, you mentioned you've been a coach. You are a podcaster. You're also a businessman. So,
yes,
can you walk us through the idea of creating a professional football team? Like how it came about, what that process that led you to having the Arrows joining the relaunched Continental Football League?
Yeah, actually, I would have to thank Lauren Vander Esch. He actually is the one who directed me to Manny, or Manny to me, and that is how that started the spark of this all. And it happened like in such a in such a weird way. It was just talking, and then I noticed something though. Michigan is the perfect market for football. Like it's perfect. I seen the opportunity. Um, when you think about all the guys in the state of Michigan, and then you got to think about the Western Ohio border with like Toledo and things like that, and you see that there's no outlet for these guys to play football past college. And you think that, with this our season being in June and July, that could kind of be a bridge gap for guys to maybe get tryouts in the NFL, and that void is just vacant. Shout out to the Michigan Panthers. But they left. They decided to go elsewhere. They found a bigger market. And and that void is being left. I mean, we got Michigan, we got Michigan State, we got Central Michigan, we got Western Michigan, we got Eastern Michigan, we have University of Toledo, we have all the D2 schools, all the D3 schools, and just with none of them having a place locally to play, and I'm trying to keep the dream alive for those guys, just like the dream is kept alive for me. I know it's past my prime, of doing anything athletically, even though I still do kind of compete with the kids on the varsity high school level. I go in one-on-ones with them and everything, but it's just the competitive nature in me. But I just want to give these guys a chance to compete, to see their dream out, just like me. So
You mentioned that there's kind of this void, and this void has kind of been there for a while, but there's always been no shortage of professional football leagues. So trying to operate in this window of opportunity for football, right? You mentioned the Michigan Panthers left. The United Football League relocated 3 of its teams, but they only operate 8 teams in the country. You have constantly things popping up, which was the XFL, USFL, AAF, but now in recent years, the Continental Football League is relaunching, but you have like the PIFL, the IFA, but there's a very significant difference between them all. So what about the Continental Football League that really caught your attention? I understand you were introduced and it came from a weird way, but what was it when that introduction came and about the CoFL that ultimately convinced you that launching your team and joining this league was the right fit?
Well, first I did my research. I researched that Continental actually started in the '70s, I believe.
The 60s. Yep.
Or what, the '60s? Yeah, yeah. So it actually was like a kind of like a AAA league to the NFL at one point in time. So that right there, like, oh my goodness, you know what I'm saying? So and then I'm like, the relaunch, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the initial group that brings Continental back to the forefront of football in the summer. And I want to, no disrespect to any other league like the UFL or or the Arena League or anything like that, but I want to be leading. I'm competitive. I'm not gonna lie. I have respect for everybody that I play or I go against, or but I just want to be the best. I can't help it. I just want to be the best. And me being able to spearhead that. And then the vacancy, like I said before, there's too much talent in Michigan. Like, there's way too much talent in the state of Michigan, and even the surrounding borders of Indiana and Ohio. Like, it's just to let them go elsewhere. I heard the other day that guys from Michigan were calling Cincinnati, trying to figure out, where tryouts were in Cincinnati. I'm like, no, no. We gotta represent Michigan. We gotta represent the mitten. We gotta show them that we are players in this game too. And I feel it, man. Like, the hunger is there, the passion is there, the drive is there. So I'm ready. I am ready for whatever is behind that door. I'm ready to take it on.
The Arrows have a historical connection to professional football in the state of Michigan. You go back a ways, you have the Flint Arrows in the 1950s, as well as, and I hope I'm not butchering it, the Macomb or Pontiac Arrows in the 60s, which also played in the original Continental Football League. How much did that connection influence the naming of your team?
Big time, big time. It was the familiarity of that that really sparked me being able to take that name and me trying to revive that legacy. Um, and I know there's still alumni out there that I want to connect with. I'm very big on the past and the history. So those are people that I hope to connect with very soon, very shortly, actually. I'm probably gonna set up a meet and greet of some type pretty soon, so I can kind of connect with those guys and their families, their lives, or maybe siblings or children of the former players and things like that. Because I want to take that name and I want to, you know, show that it's not gone and forgotten. That it is something, and I'm big on history. So that's one thing. Anybody tell you like, man, Mike knows so many facts about so many things in the past that just haven't, that like that nobody really knows, and so me uncovering this is just another dip in that direction, and that's just kind of something that I've always taken to. Man, I love rich history.
Yeah, rich history, you know, knowing and honoring the past is always a good thing, but you're doing it in a new way. You didn't just resurrect a team named strictly after, any one of those particular cities. So speaking of that, you mentioned Michigan, and it seems pretty obvious that choosing Michigan arrows to represent the state and that vast void that you have in your state. But seeing the state is fairly large. I mean, we're not talking about Rhode Island here, right? So
Right.
where are the Michigan Arrows going to be located? What is going to be their essential home city or home market?
So it's gonna be more than likely, we haven't made it official yet, but more than likely in the Hamtramck area, which is right outside of Detroit, which is like the neighboring city of Detroit. So it's gonna be a kind of a metro Detroit kind of thing. Football in Detroit is big. You know, I love the Detroit Lions. I love the Michigan Wolverines. That's the name Wolverine. That's I'm a Michigan Wolverine on Saturday and the Detroit Lion on Sunday. And that's just me. So but yeah, that seems like that is like kind of like the epicenter of everything. Kind of that location will draw people in. And I think that's a prime location. And trying to find the venue, I think, no slight to the Michigan Panthers. Again, I respect them wholeheartedly. But one of the things that I think that they did that I'm not going to do is they tried to go big, right? In getting Ford Field to host their games, and I think what that did was, you get 3,000-4,000 people at your game, which is good. That's good for a pro game that's not the NFL. But when you put them in 65,000 capacity seating, everybody's so spread out. There's no personal. You're not slapping fives with anybody because the person's probably way down there, like, yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like there's no feeling of just personalness. There's no intimacy with the football team because of that. So what I want to do is bring it back down to maybe 10,000 seating capacity, and make the game more interactive for the fans. Make it so, when something good happens, you can slap five with that guy right next to you. Bam. And that energy that the crowd has feeds into the players, because I actually was there at Ford Field when they beat the Rams for that first home playoff game in like 30 years. I was there. And the energy in that building was crazy. Now, I paid a lot of money for those tickets, and I'm probably the reason why ticket prices in Ford Field are the highest of anybody in the NFL right now. But I didn't want to miss out on that, and I seen the energy from it. I had a guy sitting to the right of me. He was in tears. This guy was 6'3", about 285, and he was bawling his eyes out in tears when the Lions beat the Rams. And just that energy, I want to replicate it. And I know it can only be replicated in a smaller venue where you can be more personalized, be more intimate with the team.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense. I mean, you gotta crawl, walk, run anyway, right? I mean, you're going to be a
Right.
business. You're going to start from scratch, and you're going to have to, build some name recognition and some support. So, I mean, it only makes sense to start out smaller. I mean, that's what I love about the Continental Football League. I love leagues that are more realistic, and that's the league is very, very grounded, rooted into reasonable operations and reasonable goals and in the process of which they're trying to achieve it. So it's all respectable. So
Yes.
the Arrows are the third team to join the CoFL's North Division. Seeing there is less than 4 months to kick off, how close are you to securing your coaching staff? And what brand of football can the Michigan fans expect to see from the Arrows?
First, I'm going to tackle the second half of that. And then the brand of football, excuse my language, but we're going to be tough as shit. I mean, that's just my grandmother plays field hockey, so that should tell you right there, what kind of person I am. I come from that type of family. Um, that is ingrained in me in every level and every sport that I've ever played in. I also box myself, and one thing they'll tell you, that guy is tough as nails. He's as tough as nails, and that's the type of team I want. Um, the style that we'll play will depend on the players. I'm an advocate that you can't, in the NFL, you have the luxury of setting the type of team, that the type of offense and defense you want, and then getting those players. We kind of don't have that. We kind of, you get a lot of players, and you get a pool of them, and then you kind of diagnose what your strengths are. I think that is really the new thinking of football, is you can't on this level kind of have your football team set to certain things when the players might not fit that, you know. So I would like us to be a versatile team. But again, that's going to depend on the talent and the roster that we acquire, and so that's really going to be that. And I forgot what was the first part of the question that you asked.
You're got a short runway here. So how close are you to securing your coaching staff? Not that I'm expecting you to make an announcement here, but how close are you to having your head coach, coordinators, and positional coaches?
Right. So I have a pool. Um, I have a pool of coaches. I have not reached out and made anything official yet to them, but I do have a pool of coaches, and they will be contacted within probably within the next few days. Offers will be extended to them, and I'm hoping that everything will be finalized within a week or two. So we're moving right along. It's that's kind of the story of my life, man. I just get through kind of in the fire. and it's up to me to come out of that fire like this, So that, and that's what it is, man. And that's my whole life, and that's just what I'm gonna go by, man. And I like it. I take the challenge.
Each of the teams have taken a different path in their lead up to May's kickoff. The Ohio Valley Ironmen are retooling from last year's relaunch as a professional side, whereas the Cincinnati Dukes are transitioning from the semi-professional ranks. But yet they're still strengthening a roster that they've built over a decade and have even won a national title there in the semi-pro ranks. I understand you don't want to show your hand, so to speak, or those type of things. But being the new kid on the block, how does your organization plan to build that roster? I know you're talking about, the kind of square pegs and round holes, but I mean,
Yeah.
Some of these teams have already started having tryouts. A lot of these teams already started signing players, and we're not talking about 1, 2, or 3. We're talking about they're actually moving right along pretty good. So, in the foreseeable future, time's running out, right, so to speak. The sands in the hourglass they're moving whether you like it or not. So, how do you address that challenge as your own division is very different than the division in the South where those are all new teams? So you are in a very different situation than half of this league is going to be because you're competing against established entities.
Right. So I'm going to have a combine here coming up very shortly to just to diagnose the talent. I have a social media guy who's putting something together to kind of to hit all the streams to kind of to gather the talent, and I'm confident also that this is Michigan. Like I'm a true Michigander. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a true Michigander. This is Michigan. Okay, like we got talent here, and that's something that I'm not really that worried about. Because when you say I have a professional football league in Michigan, they're gonna come. They're gonna come, and I'm gonna probably have to turn away more than I can keep. So that I'm not too worried about. But I am, I am keeping a real tight, real strict schedule because, like you said, time is running out. So we gotta move. Like we gotta move. So I got all my ducks in a row, and I'm knocking them down. Sometimes it's knocking down 4 or 5 ducks in a day, But I'm knocking them down. I'm confident that we will get this thing moving, and the talent that's in this state and the surrounding states is unmatched. I'm sorry, Ohio. I'm sorry, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, but the talent here is crazy. So yeah.
Well, that's something I want to touch on also. Michigan and Ohio football have a strong hatred for one another.
Yeah.
With there being a Michigan and an Ohio-based CoFL teams in the same division, so it's not even, you're going to face off twice a year, home and away. Do you anticipate those historical allegiances spilling over into the Arrows and Duke games?
Most definitely. Like it's impossible not to, because if you're a true fan of football, you're a fan of either Michigan or Michigan State in Michigan, and then you're a Buckeye in Ohio. That's just the way it is. These are true football states, so you're gonna get that spillover, and and I love the rivalry. The rivalry sparks the best to come out of people. To come out of the players, to come out of the coaches, to come out of the refs, to come out of everything. So to come out of the concessions, like at the best. So I love competition. I love the rivalry, without rivalries, what is sports really? You know,
Right.
like, you know, if you don't have a rivalry built up in sports and you don't have a backstory, you don't have the passion, like it all ties into one. But I can't wait. Now I will tell you this, which is kind of like a kick in the face to me. Okay. I dislike the Michigan State Spartans a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because I'm gonna tell you a quick funny story. I was watching the game. It was way back in the day. Jeff Smoker was a quarterback, and TJ Duckett was the running back. Michigan was up, okay, and Jeff Smoker, he drops back. He goes to try to run. He gets sacked, and he hurries back, and he's trying to spike the ball. I didn't really know much about Michigan State then, okay? Because I'm an '80s baby, and I was born in the '90s. Michigan State was irrelevant in football then, in the early '90s. So he gets back to the line. Now I'm like, the time is expired. The 1 second was on the clock before he hiked it. He hiked it, he spiked it, and that 1 second was still left on the clock. And you all know what happened in East Lansing. The very next play, he finds TJ Duckett in the end zone for a touchdown. And the Spartans won the game, and that's my introduction to Michigan State. Ironically, we have the same color scheme as Michigan State. So that's kind of like a little poke at me, that, you know, the team that I'm running is a rival color scheme. So that's a little quick story about that, man. But yeah, the coach, the head coach of the school that I coached at, man, he actually laughed, and he actually sent me a meme that said, "Come on in, brother." I'm like, oh, yeah, but yeah.
Before I let you go, I like to provide you an opportunity to share some information that we haven't covered here today, that you believe is very important for the fans and the football community to know about the Michigan Arrows and the Continental Football League as you prepare for the 2026 season.
Yeah, I believe the fans, our team will be ready. As time constraints have it, we will be ready. We will be tough, and you know, we're thankful, we're grateful for the Continental Football League. Um, Grateful for this opportunity. I think my passion, along with the passion of the players, is going to be great. It's going to be great energy, great environment. Um, One thing that I think that we have to do better, as Michigan and in the surrounding states, is we have to support our team more. Because if we didn't, if we had supported the team a little bit more, the Michigan Panthers would still be here. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, play any games. I'm not gonna cut, you know, I'm not gonna kind of try to hide behind something. That's the reason why we're here. You know, just be honest. That's the reason why we're here. Is because the fans didn't support as much as they could. And I think that the Michigan Panthers leaving was a big wake up call to Michigan. And it's like, it's here, but it can be taken away just like that. And I just want people to know, man, support the Michigan Arrows, support the Continental Football League, support the movement, because it can be gone in a season. Your team that you know, oh, maybe I'll go to a game, oh, maybe I won't. You might not have that chance next year. So be there, support your team, support the league, support everything, and I will do my best to put forth the best the best product on the field as possible.
Well, Mike, I appreciate taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the Michigan Arrows and the Continental Football League with me. I know the next few months are going to be very busy for you and everyone involved in the CoFL. I wish you, the Arrows, the league, all the best of luck. And maybe down the road, as things start to settle a little bit, your schedule allows, and hopefully if you're interested, I'd love to have you come back so we can kind of discuss the current state of the Arrows and maybe how the CoFL season's going for you guys.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I would love to.
All right. Before we go, if you don't mind, could you take a moment and inform the listeners where they can follow the Michigan Arrows to keep up to date on all the team developments as it leads up to its first professional season?
Yes, actually. Let me bring it up real quick. Got to bring the page up. Yeah. Sorry about that. 1 second. So you can find us on Twitter, or X. Sorry, I'm one of those. I'm one of those guys who still call it Twitter, but it is. You can find us at the Arrows, Michigan Arrows on Twitter, or X, and all the social media, actually, Facebook, Instagram, X. You find us at the. Hold on, sorry, 1 second. It just actually got created yesterday, so it is at the CoFL Arrows. That's CoFL Arrows. And you can follow us, check it out, man. There'll also be some updates. We actually are on the Boss Up Ball Out Podcast Network on YouTube. So that will also be information that will keep you informed on what's going on with the Michigan Arrows. And yeah, man, we as the Hawkster would say, we're about to run wild on you. Be on the lookout, Ohio Ironman.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you have a good day.
The Continental Football League is getting closer to having all their members announced for who will be participating in the 2026 season. Seeing the CoFL South Division is heavily vested in Texas, it is good to see their North Division expanding the league's footprint into additional states. It will be interesting to see where the final teams are placed and how those rivalries will develop across the Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia region. That concludes another show. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to having everyone back soon for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.